Hey guys, how are you today? It's Monday for me. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this, but it's Monday for me right now, and it is a gorgeous evening outside, as you can probably see. Oh man, living in Saskatchewan, I only get to do this probably maybe 4 months out of the year. 4 months out of the year, it is really nice out, and I can be out here on the deck enjoying the nature, the magic of the trees. So, welcome to the KrAzY Show with KaThErInE. Cheers! Cheers to being out of control. Cheers to being the you that you've always wanted to be. You're crazy and you're way cooler than you think than you know you are. You're way cooler than you know than you know that you are if you are watching this and you haven't turned it off yet. So cheers. So what do I want to talk about this week? Well, I would really like to talk about magic and coincidences. What if there's no coincidences? What if it's all truly magic that you created? See, I talked, I think, a few episodes ago on the first episode about asking and receiving, about asking and about how when I worked at the co-op and I asked to work in all these different departments, and the next year I would join as a summer student again, and they would put me in the department that I wanted to go in at the end of the previous year. Like, how cool is that? And well, my hubby, who I think I've talked about before too, Travis, he is a magical creator as well. And he created, oh my God, so much magic this last week. So it started with him and I. So we're going on a holiday this summer. Travis and I and our two kids, Trace and Helena, are going on a road trip down to Washington to pick up our new dog, a giant Alaskan Malamute. And we're going to take about 8 days. And we're going to take our time getting there. We are going to hit up the Enchanted Forest for sure. That's in BC. And I'm not sure where else we're going to go, but so this is another gift that Access has been to me, is like clearing all of the points of view I have about everything. I used to hate camping, like hate it. The thought of sleeping in a tent, I mean, we did it a few times and it was just not fun at all. However, now I know that there is a way you can do it that could be fun. And I thought it would be fun on the way down there when we're driving through the mountains to maybe camp a couple of the nights rather than getting a hotel room, like be a little more adventurous. And so I mentioned that to Travis. I said, hey, I would actually be willing to camp, to tent, because I don't want to pull a camper all the way either. I would be willing to tent a few nights on our holiday. And he was like totally shocked. He was like, what? Who are you? So right away he started doing research like he loves to do. And he found that you can buy a truck tent. So a tent that you set up in the box of your truck. So you're off the ground. We'll have to bring an air mattress or air mattresses. And yeah, that's where we're going to sleep for a few nights. So the one night he was on, now this was like, say, a Tuesday night, I would say Tuesday. He was on the internet looking up truck tents. So he found one on Cabela's, a cool camouflage one. I think it was like $450 Canadian. And then he found another one on Amazon, a Kodiak one, and it was made out of canvas. Now, there were some pros and cons of each. The canvas one didn't fully seal or something, and it didn't have a bottom on it. The Cabela's one fully sealed, like enclosed to the back of the truck. And so you could access the inside of the truck with the rear view, with our sliding rear window. And and it had a floor on it. So our air mattresses weren't on the truck box. Like there was a floor to the tent, which was cool. So he was really torn, and he's like, well, what if it takes like a month to get here? Maybe we should order it tonight. And I checked in and I was like, my awareness was no, don't order it tonight. Like, let's wait a few days and see what, I don't know, let's just wait a few days. Let's just wait a little bit and then we'll order. And now I have been asking Trace and Helena to contribute to creating this holiday for us. Because, I mean, I haven't created all the money for it yet. I'm still in creation mode for that. And I'm like, hey guys, do you want to go down and get a dog and go on this adventure? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, what can you guys contribute to creating this trip? And they were just like, oh, we can do this and this. And they had all these ideas. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I told them about how much money we would need so they could contribute. And I mean, not that they're going to go get jobs or anything, but energetically they can contribute to money coming in for that. So, okay, researching the trunk tent, I said, wait a few days. Well, the next day, Travis came in at supper time from working in the shop, and he was like, you will never believe what happened today. And he's not usually that excited about anything. And I was like, what? What is it? And he's like, oh, well, so-and-so, one of our neighbors, came over for coffee, and they got to talking. Somehow they got on the truck tent. And he's like, oh, you want a truck tent? And Travis is like, oh, yeah. We're going on this holiday. The wife said she's willing to tent a few nights, so I'm just looking at buying a truck tent for a holiday. And the fellow was like, jokingly kind of, well, when's your birthday? And Travis said, actually, it's on Monday. Like it's his birthday's today, actually. So this was like Wednesday last week. And the guy's like, oh, well, I have a birthday present for you. I have a truck tent that we don't use anymore, and I'm going to give it to you for your birthday. And Travis was like, what? Like, he was so shocked. And it was, the fellow has the truck tent from Cabela's, this exact same one with the floor, and it seals up nice. And he was just going to give it to him. And Travis is like, well, you know, I would like to pay something for it. And the guy's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. And so Travis actually has this old topper for one of his trucks that he doesn't use anymore. So he's like, hey, well, would you be interested in a topper? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, actually, that would be cool. And he's like, okay, well, I'll trade you. So they traded the topper for the truck tent. So, like, magic. I said to Travis, I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, look at the magic you created. And he looked at me and he's like, it wasn't magic. It was just a coincidence. And I started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it was magic. Now, when you just downplay what you've created, something like that in your life, and you don't acknowledge it as magic, then you actually cut it off. When you don't acknowledge that you created that, like we all, like Travis and I and the kids, we all contributed to creating this truck tent showing up because we are asking for it. And the universe is like, oh, hey. And he just like, this guy comes for coffee and he has a truck tent that he doesn't use anymore, that he would like somebody else to use. When you don't acknowledge that you asked for that and you created it, then you cut off your magical capacities and it doesn't happen so much anymore. But when you acknowledge that when you ask for something and it shows up, when you don't call it a coincidence and you're like, holy fuck, man, I am magic. Like, that was magic. Thank you, universe. Thank you, me. Thank you, everything. I will have more of this, please. When you acknowledge the magic, then it starts to exponentialize and become greater, and you can have greater access to it. Now, so that was on Wednesday. So I think it was maybe Thursday, Travis went to Lloyd, which is a city that's close to our farm, and he bought this electric trimmer from Home Depot. And he came home and he was so excited about it. And because we used to have this old gas one that was like, a real pain in the butt to start. Like I would be exhausted if I was going trimming. I would be exhausted after just pull starting it. And I even got blisters on my fingers from trying to start the damn thing. So anyway, so he was excited. He got this electric one and he came home and he put it together that night and it wouldn't run. Like it wouldn't turn on. The battery was charged, everything was put together, and it wouldn't run. So I happened to be going to Lloyd on Saturday, or through there on Saturday. So I said, hey, would you like me to take this trimmer back and exchange it to get a new one? And he's like, oh yeah, that's good, because he was busy spraying now and he wouldn't get time. So the kids and I go into Home Depot with this trimmer and I go to the customer service counter and I'm like, hey, this trimmer doesn't work. And she looked at me funny. She's like, what do you mean it doesn't work? This thing doesn't spin around? And I was like, no, it doesn't start. Like it doesn't do anything. And she was like, was the battery charged? And I'm like, yeah, it was. And I could notice that even in her questioning me, some of my defenses coming up, like I wanted to kind of be sarcastic with her. And what I would really like to acknowledge for myself is that I acknowledged that was coming up for me. And I was like, you know what, that's not actually mine. Like that's probably hers and everybody else who gets questioned. Like I'm just bringing my trimmer back. I didn't do anything wrong. Like whatever. So I didn't get snappy or sarcastic. And I'm like, yeah, the battery was charged. We put it together, pushed the button and nothing happened. And she was like, so then I could see, and she got kind of snappy with me. She's like, oh, well, I just have to ask you these questions for our tools department when we send it back. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then I said, well, can I just go get another one to exchange for it? Like I would like a trimmer. I don't want my money back. And she said, yeah, go ahead. And so I'm walking to the department and I think in my head, geez, it would sure be nice if somebody would actually help me with this. And then she's like, oh, wait a second. Let me call over somebody from seasonal to come and help you. So this fellow comes over. So I'm looking at the trimmers. This fellow comes over and I grab one and it's the wrong UPC code. Like it's not the exact same trimmer. Like it's the same brand, but it's just different. And it was actually, I noticed it was $300. And I remember Travis telling me, and on the receipt, the one I brought back is only $200. So, but there was no other kind around. So the guy comes and we tell him what's going on and he looks at the receipt and he's like, oh, well, the trimmer she bought, we don't have any more of them left. Like that was a May long weekend special and there is no more. So she is going to have to take the $300 one. And right away, I think in my head, oh, should I offer to pay for this? Like, I don't really want to pay another $100, and I'm like, well, he didn't say she has to pay for it. So anyway, I just kind of ran the crazy phrase and then I did ask for the money. I did say, can I have the money now, please? Which is, if you're not in my Tool of the Week group on Facebook, you should totally join because the Tool of the Week right now is, can I have the money now, please? And it is asking everything that every day, at least 10 times a day. And I'm trying to aim for like 1,000,000 times a day, but I don't always remember. So I was using that tool. Can I have the money now, please? Can I have the money now, please? And basically, with even just that question, you're asking to receive even more. So I said the question, I used our tool, and followed the lady back to the checkout counter. And she kind of started giving me a lecture, and she's like, well, just so you know, the next time you bring something back, you need to tell us that it was on a seasonal special and whatever. And I was like, okay. So I was going to go into defending myself and be sarcastic with her. And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm just going to be this. And I said, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know you needed that information, and thank you for helping me, and I'm sorry. And yes, I will remember that for next time. And she's like, and then just so you know, you're getting the $300 trimmer for $200. And I was like so inside, I'm just so excited. And I was like, and I just said to her, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And I was like, happy, but inside I was so exuberant. I'm like, oh my God. So we get that transaction done, get out to the truck, and I phone Travis, hubby, and I'm like, hey, this is what went down with the trimmer. And he started laughing. He's like, no way. Like, he said, I wanted to buy the $300 one. But then I had the thought, oh, I've been spending a lot of money lately. Maybe I should just buy the cheaper one. And so he went with that. But in the end, he got the $300 one 2 days later for he got the $300 one 2 days later for $200 because the $200 one he bought didn't work anymore. It didn't work, and it was the only one left. And like, wow, how does it get any better than that? And I'm like, oh my God, you're doing so much magic. Like, this is so awesome. So I think with that one, he acknowledged his magic a little bit more. So I wonder what's going to show up now. I love beer. Cold beer on a beautiful sunny day. So yeah, so where in your life have you been magic and you wrote it off as a coincidence? And what if there's no coincidences? What if it's all magic? And I know using the tools of access consciousness, being more conscious and present and aware in my life, getting clear on what I desire and what makes me happy and asking for that. And it's just so much greater. And it's like, you know, I really realized how many points of view I had about stuff. Like, even the fact that I want a tent on our holiday, like, that is exciting to me. And before, I would have never wanted to, like, ever. And like, who does that belong to? That's another thing in Access. We talk about how 99% of all of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions aren't actually ours, but our body is a psychic SpongeBob, and we have a radio antennas, and we pick up on other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions all around us. And I know for me, like, I really noticed that. I started to notice that before Access, and I think that's energetically kind of got me, is how I found it, because, excuse me, beer burps. I would be having an amazing day at work, and I would come home and I would walk through the door of the house, and I would be so angry, like instantly mad. And I was like, what? But I felt like I couldn't not be mad. Like, it was such an overpowering energy. And then I come home and I'm yelling at Travis, and we're fighting, and you're stupid, and you're stupid, and you're wrong, and what's wrong with you? And he's like, why are you so angry? And what it was he had a bad day. Maybe it wasn't even his bad day. That's the crazy thing. He had a bad day, and I just like sniffed the energy in the air and picked it up. And then I started living that crazy. So who does it belong to? And if you like more of this, I'm going to be doing some more KrAzY shows. You can find me on Facebook. I also put them on SoundCloud, and I also do some online classes. So where we jump online and it's like talk about different things. And I also do some personal facilitations and personal coaching. So if you would like me to facilitate you in changing any area of your life, I do that. My contact information will be with this video somewhere, below or above it, to the side. I don't know where you'll see this, but yeah. So thank you, and cheers to KrAzY, magic, out of control. What if you're way cooler than you think you are? Actually, I know you are way cooler than you think you are. So until next time, lovely. Bye.